And I closed my eyes. I'm sitting on the ground, cross-legged, and a wind came through. And I opened my eyes, and then on the other side of the fire was the skinwalker. And it was a young Indian man. And I stood up, put my
What's the deal with
Mm.
the picture frames moving?
Oh yeah, so funny enough, that was actually in our old house. Yeah. So remember the house I told you, the other house I would still have dreams about sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So this was again. I think I had to be like about like 11 or so, 10 or 11 years old or somewhere around there. And I remember, yeah, being there one night. Pretty late night.
Yeah.
And as I'm sitting there playing, well, funny enough, you look back enough, we had a Nintendo 64. And, I'm sitting there playing the game, relaxing, Mario 64. Of course, I'm happy. I'm like, okay, cool. There, my dad, he walks through to, I think he went to the restroom or something
Yeah.
he went to go do. I saw him out the corner of my eyes. He's walking past. And then, he walks, gets done his job, goes back the other direction. And and I see like, yes, he's walking back and his friend walks back behind him. They go back to the other room. But so I'm sitting there and then about 5 or 10 minutes or so pass. And I see something else out the corner of my eye. So I figured, okay, maybe just him moving again. But a little while later I see something again. So I'm like, okay. Me and my little sister said this thing we do like sneak up on each other, try to scare each other sometimes. So I'm thinking maybe that's her trying to sneak out the room and sneak over there to, try to scare me.
Yeah.
So I ended up saying, I was like, you ain't messing around. I already saw you. You gotta stop messing around. I already saw you. It's over. Nobody said anything. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And then, I see it again. So I'm like, okay, all right, I told you I already saw you. You're going to try to scare me. It's not going to work. I look over over the side of the couch
Mm-hmm.
and nothing's there. So I was like, okay, well, I'm like, that's weird. But I'm like, okay, screw it. Let me get back to my game. I love my game. So I'm like, okay, I'm going back on here. And as I get back to playing it, this time I see something again. I'm like, okay, what the hell? So now I'm just like, okay, so what the hell is this? And as I look, again, nothing there. Now, mind you, these pictures, like the way they sit off on the side, anyways, right? So okay, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Now this time I see something, and so I don't turn to look exactly. I just use my peripheral to see what's on the side of me, and like my mouth just drops open. I'm just like, wait, I'm like, damn, I'm like, ain't no goddamn way
Yeah.
that I'm seeing what I'm thinking I'm seeing. And so I look real quick, and like nothing's going on. And so I'm like in my head, I'm like, I know. I'm like, I just saw this portrait. I just saw this portrait of me, like my picture. Like I felt like it was moving, like it was something was going on. But I'm like, okay, hell no, couldn't. I'm like, that couldn't be a thing.
So it's happening in your peripheral view.
Right.
Something is moving in a picture frame,
Mm-hmm.
but then when you look directly at it, nothing is moving.
Right.
But then you go back to looking at whatever you initially were looking at, and then your peripheral it starts moving again.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. And so so I go back to it, and about another 10 minutes pass, and I see this movement again. So this time, again, like I'm just kind of I'm like I didn't even pause the game. I'm just sitting there, and I'm like using this. I'm using my peripheral. I'm looking at these things happen, and at this point, it's not even just my image. I'm seeing my brother's because it goes in an arch. So imagine it's like an arch inside the house, like a wall that's cut out in an arch, basically.
Yeah.
And each picture is like going up and around the arch and down the other side with all of
Okay.
us. And the image of my father and my little sister was up at the top. It was like a bigger portrait
Mm-hmm.
sitting up at the top of this. And so like I'm seeing this out of my peripheral, and I'm seeing like my picture move. I see my brother's picture. And I see like my sister, she had like a double picture, and those pictures each face is like moved and like talking to each other and talking to the other frame, like talking
Oh,
to the
so
other
they were
frames.
interacting.
Yeah, they were interacting with each other. And
Wow.
I'm seeing this, and I'm like I'm staring. Well, I'm not staring directly at him, of course, not yet. So what I end up doing at this point, I turn to look at them. Because again, I figure, okay, it'll stop when I stare at it.
Yeah.
This time it didn't stop.
Oh
And
shit.
I'm looking directly at these images as they're all just like they're like talking interacting and I can even hear it's like a what's the word, an inaudible, like a whisper. Then I'm hearing this like, and I'm like
Holy,
hearing things,
holy
and like it's like
snaps.
some high, and like I'm like hearing all these different noises,
Damn,
and
dude,
this is going
that gave
across
me
all of
studio
these.
goosebumps right there.
Yeah,
That's creepy as
yeah,
hell.
and it's going up and down. So each image of all of it is just moving. All of them are doing this, and I'm like, of course. So in my mind, I'm just sitting here like,
How
boy,
old were
what
you
in
at
the
this
hell?
time?
Well, I think I was about like 11 or 12, like somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
And
Yeah.
so what were you thinking? Like, were you thinking to run? Were you scared?
Oh, I
Were,
was just
you
thinking, ain't
know,
no goddamn way. I
yeah,
was like, boy, ain't no way. That's my first thing in my mom. Ain't no goddamn way. I'm like, what in the hell is this? And so of course I'm baffled at
yeah,
this moment as I'm staring at these images of all like me, my siblings, they're all moving and talking, and as I'm looking at, like I said, the one in the middle at the top of the arch is my father and my little sister, when she was a baby.
yeah.
It's an image of them, and like the baby in the picture starts crying, so she's crying. And yeah, and then the
Wow.
father's like holding her, like my dad, he's holding the baby, trying to like, and then that's when I finally see him he's like, I see him moving to try to calm her down. But then I see like him look at me, looking at them, and then he just like quickly like he utters something down. He like shoots a look down both sides of the
Yeah,
arch. Then he looks at me, and then everything just kind of goes back to normal. Like everything just stopped. Like he shoots something down at them, they stop. Then
yeah.
he looks at me and everything stopped. He like smiled and stopped.